On the 17th of May 2013, Reddit user poisonedbymom would create a post on the Off My Chest subreddit with the title, "My mother has poisoned me." This post reads as the following. This is a throwaway account. Ever since I became an adult about a decade ago, my mother has been against me moving out of the house. I finally got a job as a line cook 3 years ago. My mother, and the rest of the family, which includes my sister and father, has been against it, mainly saying that such a job cannot sustain me, which was true. They also said that I would hate working, which turned out to be false. About a year and a half later, I quit due to health reasons. The following spring, I got a new job as a computer programmer. While they seemed supportive at first, my mother and my sister, who I lived with, gradually became hostile. Eventually, I moved out of the house. About a month later, I lost my job, and about 3 months later, moved back home. Everything was cool at first, but as I was getting calls from recruiters and going to job interviews, they gradually became more hostile again, accusing me of being distant and not caring for them. However, they seemed to be very controlling and hateful of the fact that I wanted to move out and wanted a decent job. So last month I finally got that job as a programmer again, but it was out of town. I had just enough money to relocate to the new city. They became very hostile, starting a few days before I left, accusing me of not loving them, of hating them. On the day before I was scheduled to leave, my mother gave me 2 of the styrofoam ramen noodle cups, and tore that cardboard covering that normally comes with it and threw it away. I was suspicious that they would try to sabotage my life, so I was careful in not trying to anger them. She gave me a few more food items, which I didn't use, to take on the trip with me. When I arrived at my new city and entered my hotel room, I chilled out. I was to go to work the next day, so after the first day at work, I ate a cup of ramen noodles and felt ill. I knew that feeling because my sister fed me something that made me feel the same way in late 2011, which I then assumed was because of my recent illness. I felt weak, lightheaded, and short of breath. I drank water to make me feel better because that's what I did last time that happened to me. Over the week, my mother kept calling me, making sure to remind me to eat my ramen noodles. I was short on cash then, waiting for my first paycheck. I never told her that I ate it. I suspected then that I'd been poisoned, and after doing some Googling, believed it was cyanide. Now that is something that you should never have to think, that your own mother would do that to you. So I resisted that thought because I simply could not bear to think that. So I went to cyanidetest.com and ordered a kit, and I tried it. Now here are the results of my test. I guess I am going to have to call the cops, and I will never speak to my family again. In response, a Redditor would ask, "Does this mean your sister once tried to cyanide poison you?" To which the OP would respond simply with, "Yes," but go into further detail when replying to a question asking how they knew it was cyanide poisoning. They would say, "I didn't know what it felt like. All I knew was this was a familiar feeling. My sister fed me stuff that made me feel the exact same way earlier, and I suspected that it was poison since I had just finished a bowl of ramen noodles. I then Googled it, realized the symptoms matched cyanide poisoning, did more research on cyanide poisoning, and then ordered the test kit. I still wasn't really ready to totally accept that I was poisoned and was hesitant to go to the police, just in case I wasn't poisoned. As you would expect, many other commenters would urge the OP to go to the police or speak with a lawyer. The OP would reply, saying, "I've been on your side of hearing crazy stories many times, and I reacted the same way that you did. But it is totally different when it's being done by your own family against you. You lose rationality. I know that what they did was very evil and that they deserve to rot in jail. However, my familial attachment to them still makes me not want to believe they would do such a thing. And that, of course, Mummy loves you. I'm just going to have to be strong." Another Redditor would comment, "Yeah, it may be a gun next time rather than poison. I hope you're feeling better, OP." In response, the OP would reveal something concerning. Yeah, she owns 3 guns, a revolver, a Glock-type gun, and a shotgun. I hate to think of what could have happened if I had agreed to go to the shooting range with her on the few times she'd asked me to go. Even more disturbing, the OP would also reveal their mother had attempted to get a life insurance policy out on them at some point, saying, "She has tried many times in the past few years to get a life insurance policy on me. I have very vague memories of going along with it one time, but my memory is kind of short on this." Some Redditors would question where the OP was from, and they would reply, "Actually, I am a black American. My mother, sister, and father hold some black nationalistic supremacist beliefs. I'm thinking that the fact that I'm not exclusively interested in black women might have at least something to do with this. My sister, for instance, is a chemitist." Now I'm going to cut in here just to say I'd never heard of chemitism, but looking into it further, Kemet was the original name of Egypt. Ancient Egyptians referred to their homeland as Kemet, as the translation from Egyptian means black, or in longer form, black land, in reference to the black colour of the fertile mud brought by the Nile during the annual floods. I don't want to go too off topic, and there's a few different branches that seem to differ, but as the OP is American, it is likely his sister may follow the Kemet orthodoxy, which attempts to follow the Egyptian traditions as closely as possible and revive them. There's definitely more to it, but I thought I'd give you some idea of what the OP sister being chemitist refers to. Now back to the rest of OP's comment. "My mother has been a Christian most of my life, as far as I can tell. However, when she made her Facebook profile about a year or so back, she listed her religion as spiritual. So that makes me wonder what she really believes. My father is a business owner and runs an entertainment company based upon one style of dance. I left the business 3 years ago because I was sick of the abuse, thought he was a sociopath, didn't want to be a starving artist, liked being a programmer much better, and wanted something better out of life. I also didn't want to be constantly talking about race, talking about white people this, white people that. Black men, mainly those with white women, are this or that, and etc. It would seem the OP didn't really understand why their family was the way they were, but believed his father and sister were psychopaths and his mother crazy. They are definitely narcissists. I believe that my sister and father are both psychopaths. My mother, I know she is freaking crazy." The OP would refer to his family having a crabs in the barrel mentality, the metaphor referring to the behavior of crabs when trapped in a bucket. Whenever one crab attempts to climb out of the bucket, the others pull it back in, resulting in all of the crabs being trapped in the bucket. In short, the metaphor insinuates that if the OP's family can't have something, neither can the OP. The OP also mentions being a programmer and would like to become independent and successful in their career, so this may be one of the motivating factors among others. There wouldn't be much more activity on this account until the 11th of October 2013, where the OP would post an update on their situation titled, "My mother has poisoned me, Part 2. In it, they would say, "I was only able to file a police report, but only that, so far. The police do not have enough evidence to investigate. I've gone no contact with my family. I currently live in a cheap motel in Kansas. Yesterday, after getting home from work, I work for the Kansas state government as a software developer. The lady at the front desk told me that my mother called them to speak to me. For security reasons, the motel needs both the name and the room number, and my mother didn't have my room number. She didn't even attempt to call my cell phone, which makes me believe that she just wanted to know if I was staying there and where. So this morning, I leave a little earlier than usual. The sky was still in the early twilight phase. I take the bus to and from work because my car blew a gasket almost a year ago, before I moved out and got my current job. As I was walking towards the bus stop, I saw someone in a strange car. She told me that if she visited, she would be using a rental car, using the finger to tell me to come here. I looked, but kept on walking. Then she opened the car door, and she was in a black outfit and a hood, which is strange for my mother. Then I knew it was her when I saw her face. She told me to come here, and I said no, kept a good distance. She said that she just wanted to know if I was okay, so I said yes, I am. She said that she wanted a hug, but I said no. I don't know if there was anyone else in the car with her, but she is a gun owner and a good shot. She routinely kicked all of our asses in Duck Hunt when I was a little kid, and still owned when playing Wii games with the gun controller. I ended up taking another bus to get to my job. So, when I get off work, what is the best way to go home, or should I even go? If not, where should I go? Most comments to this part 2 would support the OP, but others would point to possible mental health issues, with one Redditor saying, "I worked as an RN for many years in psychiatry. I think if OP is not a troll, he may well be dealing with some serious mental health issues." Edit: after reading the original post, I think OP has definite mental health problems. Even if he is also trolling, OP needs some help from a doctor, but not a toxicologist. The OP would respond saying, "Thank you for speaking out and actually saying what bothered you, unlike others on here. I know it is an incredible story to tell someone. However, everything I say is totally as it happened." Another would accuse the OP of being a troll or attempting to find job leads in other states, saying if he had the qualifications he said he did, then it would not be so hard for him to find a job. Poisoned by Mum would reply and say, "Trust me, I would already be out of here if that was the case. It took me months to get the job that I have now." In response to more talk of the life insurance policies, the OP would reveal a little bit more about his family. "I was an adult, mid-20s or older to be more exact, when she tried this, so I don't know if this still applies. Oddly, she wanted me to go on welfare so that she could use the money, even though she has been a psychiatric registered nurse for more than 15 years, and she told me she makes about 90k for a salary about a year ago. So I guess you could say that she was greedy for money. What would you need my welfare payments for? Which totaled out to about $200 a month when you're making that much money. Some other weird things about this is that she is a hoarder, and nothing around the house was ever fixed because it cost too much money. Even when told by others that the job didn't have to be expensive, she refused to do anything to fix the house. She couldn't be bothered to buy a $100 washer and dryer. Many of the wood walls and ceilings are decaying, and there is a huge hole in the ceiling right above the tub. There are so many problems like that in the house. But again, she couldn't use her money to actually fix the house and provide a safe living space for my now 5-year-old nephew. One thing that my mother knew, because I told her this a few times over the years, was that I wanted to move out. I didn't make it about her or anything like that. Just told her that I'm old enough and that it is time for me to move out so that I can live like an adult and do adult things, such as dating. But I didn't tell her that because of my interest in white women and her extreme hatred of white women. So I finally got a decent job as a software engineer that would allow me to move out of the house, so I did that. Of course, my mother telling me to go on welfare stopped because I now had a job and was making way too much money to be on welfare. My sister became more and more hostile since I got the good job. At some point, her shenanigans became so great that I had to move out, for my safety, as she pointed guns at me, with evil smiling and laughing. After losing my job and moving back home, my mother and sister were cool for the first few days. I spent pretty much all of my time searching for new employment. They gradually got more hostile, and actually went apeshit bananas when I took a job offer out of state and I was handed the poisoned food on the morning of my departure. Just based upon my latest thinking, inspired by your post, she could make me go on welfare or other things, since I was living under her roof and not making any contributing payments to their house. When I got a good job and left to live on my own, she could no longer do that, and I was in control of my money and myself. When I first moved out, while still living in the same city as her, she tried to control my life, but moving out of state makes control all but impossible. Is there any way to find out if there are any current life insurance policies on myself? If so, I will get them cancelled immediately. After this, Poisoned by Mum would post their final comment, saying, "I've moved out of state since making my last thread with this account, and am doing very well with a nice job, and am in better health." This would be the final post by the OP, before the account went dark. Whether a true story, a troll, or something to do with mental health, the idea of something like this happening is sad and disturbing. Hopefully, the OP is still doing well.